Everyone online says you need to scale with a course. And I say, sell the damn service. I'm Emily Williams, award-winning consultant and productized offer expert since 2014. And I'm here to help you work less, make more, and stop custom building your burnout. Each week, we talk strategy, structure, and the real stories behind sustainable service businesses. You know, from service providers who like doing service work, who want to stay in service work, but also just make more money. If you're ready for all that yapping, then let's dive in. Hi. Oh my gosh, it's been forever since we've gotten to connect. I was so excited to see your name pop up when you wanted to come on the show. And I think about the people who I've met in this industry over the past 14 years, which is bananas to say. You know, everyone kind of falls into these like milestones of buckets of like, who was I? What was I doing? What was I offering? What stage of business was I at when I met this person? And you are like one of the earliest phases of that.
Heather's event.
Heather's event, her group,
the great
which
connector.
I need to bug Heather. That reminds me, I need to bump her again because she wants to come on the show, and she either scheduled and it's really far in advance, or she hasn't scheduled yet. So I need to poke her again. But when she popped up,
we talked for like 90 minutes. We would have just kept talking, but I had I had like a client call or something. It was so great. She's so great.
I love her so much, and truly, she and her community that she created is, I mean, probably one of the main reasons why I'm still in business.
Yeah.
Because it just connected me with so many amazing people, but it also was one of the first, if not the only community for me that like made me feel like what I do is legit and worth taking seriously and calling it a business and treating it like a business and doing all of that. And I mean, she was like back in the OG Facebook group days, and that's where we met and at her event and all the things. And so
I so remember, just a side note, I so remember, because you were one of the speakers and I was one of the speakers. And I remember, I think I told you this when we spoke a couple months ago, but I remember, I remember you were talking about sales funnels and Trello. And I was like, I had no idea what the hell a sales funnel was. And I'm like, I'm like older than all of these people. I'm like, I have no idea what a sales funnel is. And two, what the hell is Trello? Like, I remember you and like Jessica Stansbury, I think, and you guys were talking about zaps and all.
Yes.
And I was like, I am so out of my element in all of this aspect of it. I remember I felt very old at that moment. I was like, why do I not
well, because you had been in business for a minute at that point, right?
Oh, I've been in business. I mean, I've been a designer for 30 years. I know I don't look over 25, but I've been in the business for a long time. So all of the kind of like automation and all of that stuff that you guys really, I don't want to say pioneered, but like you guys were one of the first to really kind of run with that. And I remember being so impressed. I was just like, how do I not know this? I need to get on this. I still don't love Trello, but but you know, there's other systems and stuff
for sure.
and all that.
Oh my gosh. And that is just such a funny reflection because I think it's going to segue into what I know we're going to dive into today, but hearing that reflection, it sits well in my own kind of sometimes impostery mind of like, what am I talking about? What am I doing? Sometimes I feel brand new to this space, even though I've been here for so long. And sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, there's all these like up and coming people talking about systems and tech and workflows and whatever. And
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that because I have, it's challenging for me as someone who is a veteran in the design world. Right. And I can now officially say that. And I sometimes, some of it is, you know, me kind of being a curmudgeon, to be honest with you. Like I'm Gen X, you know, so I kind of am a little more bitter about stuff than other people. But, you know, sometimes I see these young, I'm going to just say women. I mean, the men I just kind of ignore.
For sure.
You know, all my feed is all, you know, mostly female entrepreneurs and all groups and all that stuff. And I love all of it. And there's so much I learn every day from you, from even younger,
Mhm.
entrepreneurs. But sometimes and I know a lot of women are, in my general age, and maybe you do as well, where you're like, really? You've been in business for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
get it. Like, you've mastered something, but
Yeah.
also like check yourself a little bit. So
Yeah.
sometimes I struggle with that.
Yeah.
Uh, with
And I
that
think that's
feeling.
fair, and I think honestly, like, that is a big foundation of why this show exists and why, my kind of overall platform exists as it is today, and someone tagged me in a post on Threads today or commented on something, and she said, the original post was something about, um they said, "Can we bring done for you services back? Like, I'm tired
Mhm.
of learning how to do something. I wanna hire
Mm,
an expert to come in and do it for me." And I am team done for you services. I am team productize your done for you service so that you can
right.
work with more clients, so that you can actually scale, so that you can build, a larger business if that's what you wanna do. And so I've been talking about that nonstop, and I've decided in the past few months, especially with the release of this show, to just be more bold about those things and, like,
Yeah.
just come out and say the thing for what it is. And a friend of mine tagged me and she said, "Emily is on a mission to do this, and she's been talking about this." And it's always so funny to see that reflected back where I'm like, yeah, like, that for me, the foundation of this show isn't that there's new people coming on the stage and sharing their strategies and techniques. I love that. I think it keeps the industry fresh and evolving, and it keeps some of us on our toes, and it brings new ideas and all of that. What I f what frustrates me isn't even that they're, like, teaching and talking about it and whatever, but it's that I know that they're struggling. I know that they're doing that because they think that that's the type of business and brand that they need to have, and the
Right.
sales aren't reflecting all of the energy that they're pouring into their business because they've either pivoted too quickly away from done for you services, or they're trying to juggle both, and they've, like, got 1 or 2 clients here, and then they've figured out something that works perfectly for them, and so now they start teaching it over here, and you end up
Right.
building 2 separate businesses. I talk about that a lot. And
Right.
so I think for me, it's more of just like, my friend Jessica Ely calls it getting in your reps, and I think that that's, the big foundation of this conversation of, like, work with more clients,
Mhm.
make mistakes, charge too much, don't charge enough, like,
Yeah.
break your
Yeah.
boundaries, break scope,
Right.
realize you need a contract in place. Like, all of that is just part of learning how to be in business and doing it, and
Right.
I think
Exactly.
I do think a lot of people are trying to have an educational platform before they've gotten in those reps.
Yeah. 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 Like I said, I mean, to highlight on everything that you just said, just to add that I think it's amazing. And also, I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. I just
For
do.
sure, for
And
sure.
so many people that look, even high profile people that look like they are killing it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Maybe they are, but parts of their personal life are failing, or, I mean, you see that a lot with a lot of, a lot of a bigger kind of, who was that Rachel Hollis girl or whatever, right? Like
Right, right.
people that
Oh,
are
that
like,
was so
they
dramatic.
put themselves on this pedestal, and
Mhm.
then it's like, oh, actually, like all this other shit is
Yeah.
fail. Is it okay
Well,
for
and
me?
I think, coming from a designer, I wonder if you have a take on this. I know that, like, branding and design are this ever evolving, moving kind of orb, right? Coexistence in your brand and your business. And I think for people like Rachel Hollis, and even, I mean, the larger scheme of, like, Jenna Kutcher and Amy Porterfield and Marie Forleo, and, like, the bigger names that a lot of us can recognize, like, I think equal parts, they helped build the pedestal that we all push them up the ladder to get on. And
Sure.
it's just this really interesting parasocial almost relationship that these, like, educators slash
Mhm.
influencers, because, like,
Yeah. They are
what do you
now.
actually do now? That it's in such an interesting space of, like, is that someone who you as a business owner want to keep learning from because of where they're at in their life and their journey? And I think it just takes some discernment skills that I feel like a lot of us forgot how to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna name names, but I was in a group, a well-known group that I loved until, I loved the community, I loved the ethos, I loved the
Mhm.
mission. And then over time, you know, you start to feel like this feels like a money grab.
Yeah.
Feels
Yeah.
like the way that talking about branding, right? And like your mission, and money changes people, I think it
Yeah.
does. Just kind of
Yeah.
going off the rails a little bit, but I'm now much more, when I work with people or when I bring people on, I try to see the whole, if you think about personal branding, right? It's the whole thing, right? It's not
Yep.
just how you show up in the world. It's all the parts,
It's all of
right?
it. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, you're a coach, right? So I'm not a coach. I always thought maybe I would want to be, and now I'm like, I have no interest in that.
Well, and I've talked on another podcast that I host with my friend Jessie Lee about my ickiness toward that feeling of
Yeah,
the word coach, and not for
yeah,
other people, but for me.
yeah, yeah,
I think that there are very clear people who I can look at their business model and how they show up, and I'm like, oh, you are a coach, and you are excellent at that, and that is how your offer is designed, and it works perfectly for you. For
hmm
me, I've had a lot of struggle with that word because I don't do mindset work very well. Like, I don't coach people through that very well.
yeah,
I am very much a, like, "D just don't do that." Like, go get more
yeah,
work. I don't understand what's stopping you.
yeah.
So I do think our conversation kinda today will be interesting because I do wanna talk about imposter syndrome, especially
Okay,
being a veteran in this space.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
'Cause
similar to. Oh, so sorry. Go ahead.
no, I
No,
was
just
just
you
go
go.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. What I was going to say is just when you parallels. um you were known as X, right, as part of this other business,
Yeah,
and crazy successful, and now you've pivoted, right? Even though you have all that experience, you're just like, you just moved, like, you're like adjacent.
exactly.
I am dealing with the exact same thing. So that when I sent you that message of like, here's where I am right now, I'm
Yeah.
known as X, and now I'm positioning myself as Y. And
Yep.
it's been terrifying, which sounds
Yeah.
ridiculous because if you were my client, I would be like similar to you. I'm not very good with I'm just like, get out of your head. This is ridiculous.
Just
Like,
do it.
you're amazing.
Yeah.
You're amazing. Why aren't you doing this? Right.
Yeah.
But going through it myself, it's a different story. So I do. It's funny. Going through this process of launching this new service that I'm offering, hopefully next year, whenever I get around to it. But creating something new, even though it's what I do all the time, and showing up that way, I have a lot more compassion for my clients who
Yes.
don't want to show up on video, for example. Like, they
Yeah.
just do not, even though I know that is what's going to help them sell their books and make a bigger connection with their audience and all of that stuff. I mean, have you seen me on video? I mean, I sort of did one yesterday, but like, I'm not great at it, or I'm not
Mhm.
comfortable with it yet. It's not that I'm not good at it. It's just that I'm not comfortable. So I have more sympathy now going through it, for my clients.
Well, and so that piece right there, I think is important, kind of circle back to our initial conversation. I think ultimately for me, the quote unquote beef I have with either people who haven't gotten enough reps in to then be educating in the space, but for pivoting so quickly out of done for you services and then teaching a strategy, marketing, lead, like whatever it is. If you're not also in the weeds, if you have not, I refuse to learn from someone about service work. Like, it could be about something else, but if I'm learning something about service work and lead generation, selling, proposals, whatever it might be in the service realm, I'm learning from someone. For me, it's mandatory that they also actively serve clients one on one. Because if
Mhm.
you served clients one on one 5 years ago, the, the game is completely different now. And with
Totally.
how quickly everything is evolving with AI, technology, the market, like truly everything, your advice that worked 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago may or may not be relevant today. And even if it is, because there's obviously like, I am a core believer in, like, there are solid foundational business strategies that just work for eons, but the lens of them are shaped by what's going on in the world and in the market and in the economy. And if you're not in the trenches with me, then there is such a lack of understanding and nuance as to what I'm going through that, like, because I remember I worked with someone earlier this year as one of, like, a deep regret business purchase of, like, if I had just thought for, like, a couple seconds about,
Yeah.
whether this was right for me or not, I wouldn't have done it. And I get in and it was just I mean, imagine the, like, quintessential you enroll in something and the person is like, "Okay, immediately, the strategy that I'm gonna design for you is you need to go DM 75 people every single day and start a conversation on Instagram, and here's your script, and here's your message, and you need to send voice memos, and you need to say this." And immediately I was like, "Oh god, what did I do?" Because this is not something
Did you
that I
do any
wanted.
of it? Did you do
No, I
any?
did not do any of it.
Oh.
Um because it's not actually in alignment with how I wanna show up and
Right.
how I
So they're
convert
run
clients.
they're churning you through their model
Exactly.
without take well, that's the whole I mean, you're I know you're really in depth with human design, which I'm so curious about. I generally know the thing of it, but,
Yeah.
and I sort of pay attention to the Enneagram and all of that, but, yeah, anyway, I'm sure that
Well, and
that was probably a
for
red
me,
flag for you.
human design is I use it as like a filter when you can't make a decision or you don't understand why something feels off or you feel a certain way about something. I do feel like I look at human design uniquely because I am not one of those people who, like, there are people who are won't make a decision at all in their life or business unless they run it through human design or, like, they pick their
Mhm.
brand colors off of human design or Enneagram or whatever, and I I don't love that, that's not how
Yeah,
I
that
apply
definitely
it.
refers.
Right. For me, one of the things that human design opened up actually, like, really helped part of the imposter syndrome for me and part of the, like, mental, like, beating up of myself that I would do. So, like, do you know what profile or type you are?
No.
Okay. Well,
I'm an
as an
Enneagram
example.
7, I know that.
Okay. Well, for human design, I am a projector. I'm a 2-4 projector. And so what that means is that one of my strategies is wait for the invitation. And I was like, okay, what the fuck does that mean? And how do I apply this to business? And part of the aspect is projectors or people like me perform
Wait,
really well.
is this the same as, like, manifesting generators and
Yeah.
a oh, I'm a manifesting generator.
Okay.
I estimated that, but
Oh,
so
sure,
carry
sure,
on.
sure, sure. Okay. Well, with the whole wait for the invitation thing, it isn't the, "Okay, let me make my website, I'll build it, and they'll come. I'm just gonna sit here, and then all the clients are gonna come to me." It's about truly putting yourself in situations and showing up so that invitations can come your way. So, like, I posted on Threads that I'm going to be launching this podcast, and here are the kind of conversations I had. I got booked out through March of 2026 because of that thread. All I did was say, here's what I'm doing and here's who it's for. And the right people came in. That is a form of an invitation.
Mm,
An invitation could be like, we're here on this conversation. And at the end, I'm telling you about my offer and I'm asking you, if there's anyone that you might know, because we've had this whole conversation and we've connected, the invitation for me to put out that ask is established and it's there.
mhm.
Those situations feel way more in alignment for me than sending 50 DMs in a day.
Right, that's like old school cold calling, like
Yeah, but
the
there was a
people
time in my business where I thought, "I'm not a real business owner," or "I must not want this enough if
yeah,
I'm not willing to send 50 DMs," or
yeah.
whatever, insert whatever thing.
That also feels like a very male, like, old school driven
100%.
idea, and I know that I have a client that works with, like, executive leadership, but women in executive leadership. She's a coach, she works with executive women in leadership, and one of the things that she sees is, like, women trying to act like men,
Yeah,
basically, to, like, get
yeah,
ahead,
yeah.
and I think that that falls into that old school kind of
And then it feels icky and
view
gross
of
and you get burnout, and it's this whole cycle. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well, talk to me as someone who's been in this space for 30 fucking years. Where
I'm
what is your imposter little soldier on your shoulder telling you?
Well, initially, I did not go to design school. I've got a Bachelor of Fine Arts from a very small state, and I guess it's now a university in Vermont, which is why I grew up.
Yeah.
And, I always wanted to go to school in Boston or New York, and eventually I did kind of finish up in Boston, but but I didn't get a design degree. And everything that I learned from, day one, basically, I either learned on the job, I taught myself. When I mean taught myself, I mean like went to the library and watched lynda.com before it was like a
Yeah.
.com, like videos, right? Like
Yeah.
that's how old I am. And so when growing up, like when I would go to like interviews and all that stuff, I definitely, it was back then, it was much more of like, oh, you don't have a design degree. So I had to really kind of push myself. So I
Yeah.
built up that muscle over time, and eventually got all the jobs that I got, and, ended up, you know, obviously building the career that I have now. But n- now, so that's like gone, right? That imposter syndrome, I don't really give a shit anymore. And now, obviously, like everybody, when I say, oh, I'm self taught, that's like nothing. Like everybody's
Yeah, they're
self
like,
taught
"Yeah, me too."
now. And back in the day, that was like a thing.
For sure. Yeah.
And I was proud of it, but it was also a chip on my shoulder a little bit. Now, so I've been working. Like I said, I've been a designer for a long time, and kind of made a name for myself in the wedding industry. So kind of like luxury wedding, pretty much anyone that works with a couple, photographers, makeup artists, event planner. And I ended up working with some very big names and made a pretty good name for myself and a great business. And then, as things happen, I got kind of bored of that. And I still have one or two clients in that space, but I got started to work more with female entrepreneurs, and then specifically with authors, which is the last 4 years we started to build up our repertoire. And now we're on our 12th or 13th author.
Yeah.
And I think sixth or seventh book launch.
Wow.
And so, yeah, and that's really just been in the last, like, I'd say 2.5, 3 years, that's really
Mm.
ramped up
Mhm.
to where it's probably 75%, 85% of my business now. And we actually just had a client launch her book, Andrea Rogers. She launched a book called Small Moves, Big Life, and it became a top 20 USA Today
Oh,
bestseller. Like, we just got word
amazing.
yesterday, number 7 on Publishers Weekly, LA. I mean, I knew it was going to be big, but like, I didn't know
Yeah.
it was going to be that big.
That is
And
so
like most
cool.
of our clients actually have all become bestsellers, which is, of course, like, we're a small portion of that, but like
For sure,
still,
but holy
it feels
shit.
it feels good that we helped, right? We're building their
Yes.
personal brand, we're doing their social media and their strategy. But to answer your question about the imposter syndrome, so I recently, as I'm creating this kind of offer, and where I can reach, not, what is it, one to many, as feel like I
Mhm.
heard that term from you.
Yep.
An offer that will reach more authors, maybe that can't afford our custom services, which are, they're expensive based on
Yeah,
our
for sure.
experience.
Yeah.
Uh, as I went in and I had switched all my profile information to, like, not just be like, oh, I'm a design studio
Mhm.
or branding or whatever, to we work with authors, we work on personal branding, like, to be much more specific, to do all the things that I, of course, would tell my clients to do. And
Right.
can I just tell you the hemming and hawing that I had about it? I mean, it sounds ridiculous, to change my Instagram, LinkedIn profiles to basically say, I'm now doing this. I was
Yeah.
like, people won't know that I'm
Yeah.
still an amazing designer and that I'm, doing packaging for a cosmetics company, or I work with fashion,
Mhm.
or I do hotel branding. All of those things are still true. We still do those
Mhm.
things,
Mhm.
but making that conscious effort to really go in all in on this has been terrifying for me. And I know that
Yeah.
sounds so ridiculous. Just, I think, because I'm so comfortable with being known as X, to now pivot to Y, even though all the other things are true, I'm like, well, who the hell do I think I am? I don't come from a lot of people come from publishing. I do not come from
Mhm.
publishing.
Right. It's definitely another space where you feel like I feel like you had to self-teach yourself that industry because the publishing world is
Honestly,
completely different.
yeah. I mean, the benefit is then that I say this with our clients is that, I bring all the skill that I have as a strategist and as a branding expert and as a designer. I am, and working in social media, I bring all that to them and their personal brand and their booklet. And so it's nice to be able to, and the difference, I think, from me compared to a lot of other people is our design is just fucking amazing, right?
It's
Like our
good.
stuff looks so good. So
Yeah.
that's an element that we're able to rise above. But there's still a lot of, oh well, I don't know all the ins and outs of publishing, or I'm not PR and social media, two
It's a
different
whole
things,
other
but
yeah.
a lot of people think it's the same. So like
Mhm.
I don't have some of those connections, even though I have a lot. But like there's just it's head trash. I know it is,
For sure, for sure.
but
It's so funny to me because I I think that you've hit such a good sweet spot of a service
I
that's
think.
because I love a niche. Like, I love a niche, and I love standing out and owning that authority. I mean, pretty immediately, and you know this because I'm sure you tell it to your clients, but, you if you want to book more of what you want to be known for, you have to claim what you want to be known for. And you doing that in your profile and in the bio and whatever is part of that, right? You've, yes, already worked with 12, 13, 15 authors at this point, which is an incredible, client roster list in such a short time frame. In order to expand even beyond that circle, you have to make that visibility and that presence known, right?
And
But
that's
what
all what
I
I talk about is visibility.
right, right. But what
So
I
how
love
ironic is it that the person that talks about
I
visibility
every
struggles
time
with visibility?
it's true every time. It's so funny. What I love though is, and this is what I like really encourage, truly, it's the magical sweet spot of service, is when you're able to bring your expertise from an industry and dip it into a different industry that you don't have to know the ins and outs of. You don't have to know backwards and forwards, but you can make that industry perform exponentially better because of what you know. Because
Mhm.
you're right. There are designers, copywriters, web designers for authors that have been in the publishing world for eons, and they're not as creative, and they're not as branded, and they're not as marketing experts in the overall business realm. I do think like the publishing world, while it's different, while there are a lot of rules in that space, the more that we can blend strategies from other industries, I do think like adds to the success of what your clients are seeing. And they're going to come to you because you've had 30 years of experience in a different industry, because you know so much about marketing, selling, and how branding impacts all of that. And obviously, it's getting them results.
Yeah. It's working.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Well, and I mean, it's gonna be funny, like, having this if we have a recap conversation of this in 2 years, in 3 years, in 4 years, because to me, like, and this is what I tell my clients too, which is it's not helpful because there's nothing you can do about it. The thing that's gonna help you get over this is time, and
Mhm. Oh, I know,
and
and
that's
just
it.
doing it. It's like going through it.
And
I know
just do it
I
it's
know that.
doing it and
No.
letting the time pass, because in the same way that your non-design degree, probably tripped you up for the first 1 to 3 years,
Mm.
that's the phase that you're in right now. But I get it.
I know, I know. Well, how are you dealing with it? Like, how are you processing it? Because you really know your
I
stuff.
I practice such grand delusion. So, I I am my parents' only child.
Uh-huh.
And specifically my mother's only child, and we're very close, are very close. And I was the only grandkid for like 13 years on one side of the family and the only girl on the other side of the family. So all of that to say is that my entire life has been fueled with like, you can do whatever you want. You can
Right.
literally do whatever you want. I was also the first generation to go to college and graduate and do that rigmarole kind of thing. And it was very much a like, you're going because there's no other option because we can finally afford to send you. Well, I mean, they couldn't afford to send me, but we're going to make you go. And because someone has to represent and like do it, and it's going to be you, and you can do anything, you can do anything. And so I when I get into the funk about all the things, I truly sit there. I told my friend this the other day because there's a little bit of misunderstanding recently from a post I made on Threads. I promise this all circles around, but I posted something on Threads and someone interpreted it a different way, in a very negative way. And I was like, "Holy shit,
Well, I
that's
think I don't
literally
know. I
not
don't
what."
think I saw the original post, but I saw the like, "Ooh, this went
Yeah, yeah.
sideways or something."
I was like, that is not what I meant at all. I quite literally mean the opposite. Like, let me delete that and let me correct it. And of course, because I ruminate, I spent the weekend just being like, does this person hate me now? And have I just like ruined my chance in this circle of people or what? Like, who fucking cares? But like, I've thought about it a lot. And so I have been practicing with my therapist of like, now that I'm a solo business owner and I don't have the armor of a bigger brand and a partner and like all of these things, which definitely helped me more than I thought it was in the whole like visibility realm. It's just me. It's literally just me now. And so because I don't have that, I have been very intentional about working with my therapist on being regulated enough to be visible, to be enough visible to get and have the success that I want for my business. I have to practice regulation. And so my current coping mechanism for that, because I'm not perfect at it and I'm still very much learning it, some tapping for sure, because that helps like bring
Okay.
me back into my body. But
Okay.
literally, I will just say, my system is not regulated enough to have that crash out, to have them think poorly about me. So I'm going to sit here, and because I know that I can't handle that, I'm going to tell myself they're not thinking about me. They don't
Yeah.
think anything negative about me. I
They're
can't
probably not.
handle it, and they're probably not. I can't handle it, so therefore it isn't happening. Like,
Yes.
that is my motto that I am using in my life, and it's coming in handy a lot with, like, also the political climate that we're in right now is I can't handle that, so it's
Yeah.
not happening. And
Yeah.
it's th there's definitely caution in that of, like, you can't stick your head in the sand too much, like, you do have to, like, be
Mhm.
proactive and make change and, like, all of this stuff, but for to get back to regulation, that is quite literally the thought process I go through.
Mhm. Part of that is like the it reminds me a little bit of like the Gen X vibe of just like you just don't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
It's like, okay, whatever. Like I early on got to I mean part of it is armor too, right? Like I'm a
Yep.
Scorpio, I'm a what is it? I think Enneagram 7. I don't
Uh-huh.
like discomfort at all. So when you said like, "Oh, I kind of don't want to deal." I'm not so much about like political issues and stuff like that, but more like personal stuff. If I feel like, ooh, I was just like, do, 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 sidestep over
I just
here.
kind of
Yeah. That. Um, which is bullshit because of course my whole brand is like be a Spitfire, right? Like face it head on and all that. But I don't always do that. I mean, I would be lying if I said that I did. But th- we both obviously have kids. I forgot how old your daughter is. She's a little bit younger than
she's
mine.
she's almost 9.
9. Okay. So I have a almost 12-year-old and a 15-year-old. So we're a little bit on the other side of things, but I particularly with my daughter, I am very much like they're not thinking about you. Like
They're
honestly, and if they
truly.
are, let them live in that, let them carry that weight for you. Don't
Yep.
waste your time on them.
Yep.
And I think it's worked to the most part. I mean, knock on wood, like we've gone through, I really haven't had to, I'm like, feel like I'm really going to screw myself with this. I really haven't had to deal with a lot of teen drama that like a lot of my
Oh, I love that for
friends'
you.
parents have gone through. I mean, we've had other things, but like I feel like the girl drama and all of
Yeah.
that stuff. And I just try now to like really instill all the stuff that, we were not, particularly me, as I'm a bit older, like was not taught. Like we were not taught to process our emotions at all, but or b
Oh.
totally, take on the pain of other people. Oh, like fix it for other people. And I'm like
Uh-huh.
one of the
Yeah.
things that I've taught my daughter and her friends and anyone that sits in the car with me is when they say sorry. Oh,
Oh,
sorry. And I was like, and I'll stop my daughter sometimes. She's pretty good at it now, but I'll go, why are you saying sorry? Did you
yeah.
hurt somebody?
Right.
Did you like intentionally do something? No, I just bumped into them. Then you say, excuse me. 'Cause
Exactly.
I had this
Yep.
moment, I promise this will go back, but I had this moment where I was at Trader Joe's a couple years ago, and I'm just, zoning out right in front of all of the,
Mhm.
like, gifts or something, and this woman that was working there, was in front of me, and then another woman walked by, And again, I'm just standing here looking at stuff. And the woman working was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," because she was in front of me stacking something. And then the other woman that walked by, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I remember I did this post that kind of like took off because I was like, "Stop
Mhm.
saying
Yes.
sorry."
Yes,
Like,
you're just existing.
we're existing and stop doing this. And it just made me so angry that like women are conditioned to apologize, to feel sorry, to I talk about this a lot with my authors, is that they don't, a lot of my clients in general that are women, that they don't want to come across as braggy. And particularly if
Mhm.
women, I find like my clients are typically between the ages of, actually I have another client now, so she's 38. I guess she's probably my youngest of all my author clients. So she's 38, and my oldest client is probably 60, in her early 60s. But it's all about the same because they all know I don't want to talk about myself. Even though I'm like this amazing,
Yeah.
behavioral geneticist, or
Oh,
like created a billion-dollar company in my dorm room before, with no funding, da, 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 all these
yep.
amazing accomplishments. And there's this thread of like, who am I? I don't want to talk about like when they talk about what they're doing in that environment, they're amazing. But when it comes to talking about themselves and promoting themselves, they really struggle. And that is
There's like,
actually,
I just wrote some words." That's
or
it.
like, I don't want to literally, I mean, the word, I don't want to come across as braggy
Yeah.
when I'm like, bitch, if
Yeah.
this was me, I would be bragging to the high heavens. If you were a man, forget it.
Listen.
Like, you'd never hear the end of it, right? Like, you'd have a tattoo about it. So, but I find that has actually been one of our sweet spots, is that, even though I'm not always good at doing it myself,
Yeah.
for myself, I'm really good at being a cheerleader for my clients and
Yeah.
breaking out of that shell, or finding alternative ways to do it for them if they won't do it.
Yes.
If they
Yes.
won't do it,
Yes.
record the video or whatever. Like, we find unique ways to make content that get the same point
To
across.
share it and highlight it. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Exactly.
No, I think that's super important. I feel like I do the same work for my clients behind the scenes because I am, data girly. I need to see the data, look at the
Yeah.
numbers. That helps us inform to make decisions, yada, yada. And my clients somehow, I don't know how this happened, as much as I love systems and tech and data, 99% of my clients hate it. Like, absolutely
Yeah,
hate
they
it.
don't wanna touch it. That's why
They
they
don't
hire
wanna
you.
touch it. It's overwhelming. It's anxiety inducing. They just
They're
shut
too
down.
busy. They're too
They're so
busy.
busy.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I obviously do what I can to compile that where I can and present it. And then in our, if we have like a monthly strategy session, I got a like visual dashboard of like, here's how your business performed, here's where we're at, here's whatever. And the amount of times that before we collect the data and then I visualize it, that they are coming to me and they're like, I don't even know if I'm like, I need to go get a part-time job. Like,
Um,
the revenue is not here. The clients aren't here. This isn't here. This isn't working. Nothing is working. Everything is just the worst. And so I plug in everything and I'm like, tell me then how you've hit your out of good, better, best, your best goal for the past 3 months and you're booked out until next fall. Like, tell me
yeah,
where's the disconnect here? And it's part of it is because they're literally not looking at it and they're letting, emotions and their feelings. Maybe this week has been quiet and their brain is saying, because this week has been quiet, the entire business is breaking.
right.
And that is personally why I love data because it shows us both the micro and the macro lens of what's going on in our business. And at various stages, it might be important to pull out and just look at the big picture. And then sometimes we gonna dive back in and look at the month by month or week by week and season by season. And definitely that stuff matters. But to me, it's about creating that synchronicity of I don't need you to be married to your data. If you don't want to be someone who's pulling it up and looking at your numbers every day, that's fine. And we do need to create a relationship with our data.
Right. Well, it's like that with your finances, right? I mean,
Exactly.
if you have no, if you don't have like a weekly finance day, or you don't know what your money is, right? I mean, like, you think you're doing amazing, and you're like
You're
blowing
not- and you're like,
$1,000
girl,
a
you've
month
been to
on
Chipotle 3 times a week.
cost. So I get it. I
Exactly.
totally.
Well, talk to me a little bit about this new container that you're offering. I know we talked about it a little bit on Instagram, but rolling out hopefully in 2026. I do want to talk about the strategy of you coming up with something, because I talk all the time about how we don't necessarily need to create a lower priced offer, but I also know you are in a very high end premium service for your
Yep.
signature offer. So
Yep.
who is this one for? Why is it coming about? Why is it worth your time and attention?
Okay. Well, so I'll just back up, right? So for people that don't know me, I work with authors, and I end up working with authors directly, either the author contacts me directly or a referral, either from the publisher or the PR agency. So it is typically high performing women that are very I've told you, like Julia Borston or Liz Elting or
Yeah.
Allison Forgale, or like women that are amazing at what they do, and then they write a book, right? And so they need to then promote that book. They need to have a strategy, because at the end of the day, a lot of authors think that the publisher is going to do all this. I mean, you have published books, so actually, I need to
Yeah,
talk to you because my client base is all nonfiction or memoir. I'm not
for
in the
sure.
fiction at all, which is a totally all of the principles that I'm going to tell you about in a minute would make sense, but fictional, there's that whole other element, right? Of the
Yep.
character. And because I don't really
The
read fiction books, I'm not like well
Mhm.
versed.
Yeah. The
But
brand of the book specifically. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So
Mhm.
when I work with authors one on one, so this is our high end service, right? We do personal brand strategy, and then we also build out obviously like the launch. And then from there, I would say 8 out of 10 times they hire us for a retainer. So it's a 6-month retainer where we are working with them, you know, pretty much like 4 to 5 months before the book launches, and then 1 to 2 months after. And like 8 out of 10 clients stay with us significantly longer beyond that. I have one client that's been with me for like almost 3 years.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we just end up handling all of their
All the
social,
things, yeah.
all the things. But what I learned in working with these clients obviously is one, I can only take on so many. I mean, I have a
Mhm.
small team, but to scale is a lot of money to add on people, and it's a lot of time and all of that. So that's one. And then two, I realized there's so many authors that I could be reaching that can't afford my services. Or maybe they have a team of people that they have their own team, but they don't have the strategy component, or they don't have the design like there's things that are missing in that. And so, to mention briefly about politics, at the beginning of the year, I obviously was forlorn, furious, all the things. I know we are very aligned in this.
Mhm.
Um, and I was visiting this school, this all girls school for my daughter. She was going into 6th grade, and we ended up not going to the school. But the thing that was amazing about it was that the school, it was an all girls school. And so all of the signs on the doors were like Rosa Parks and Coco Gauff and,
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton and whatever, all these amazing, powerful women that had done in variety of industries and fields. And I was walking around, and the woman was saying, "Oh, yes, and we talk about body positivity," all these amazing things, right? And I'm literally
Mhm.
like holding back tears
Yeah.
because I'm like, my daughter is going to grow up in a world
In
totally
in
different than
this
I did
environment. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this environment. And I just was so like, oh my God, this is awful. And so, obviously there was a lot of protests and everything that were going on. And I realized at that moment, so this was like beginning of January, I said, you know, I can definitely go out and do all the things. I can protest. I definitely, I give money and all these things. But at the end of the day, the way I can make the best impact is to use my gifts, branding, strategy, messaging, design, all the things, all the end touch points, and elevate as many women as possible,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
see the impact that my clients' books make particularly on other women.
Mhm.
Um, and you don't write a book to make a lot of money, although some of my clients have done
Right.
quite well, but
And it's
you do it
fucking
as thought leadership.
expensive. So
Yeah, and right. And so you use it as thought leadership, and I just thought, like, that is a way that I can give back, is to just elevate as many brilliant women as I can. Because we already know the algorithm is skewed against us. I mean, there's all the threads about LinkedIn and all this stuff. And so I just thought at the beginning of the year, that really became my North Star was I want to work with as many women as I can. Now, to circle back, as a high level, company, there's only so many people I can take on.
Yep.
Where they want me involved in that. And so I can't offload all of that to my
Right.
team. My
Right.
team is amazing, but like there's only so much you can do. And so I just realized I want to create some sort of offer where I can help as many people as I can. Fast forward to today. I have basically taken all of the expertise and the brain power and created a container. So it's like a strategic plug and play system for authors. It's called Book Launch Library. That's all I'll say.
Nice.
But
Yep.
it'll be launched in the beginning of the new year. But it's basically a way to help authors promote, market their book. And also, but it definitely comes from the personal branding lens, because at the end of the day, the book is one element of their overall
Ye
ecosystem. And so
Yes.
I want authors to be, um, well versed in all the things that they need to know about being a
Yeah.
personal brand. And so, and I give them the tools, I give them the prompts, I give them the design. I mean, I really basically lay it out for them in the container of launching a book. So
I love this so much. I it is yeah, let's cross all the fingers. I do think that that is it's such a fantastic container. I remember when I was, writing, so I started writing in 2018, 2019, and ended up publishing my first book in 2023, and I self-published, and so that's also a whole other world.
yeah,
Chose not to query. For me, I just wanted to get something out there and needed to get it out there and could control more of the narrative there. And if I'm going to have to do all the work myself anyway to publish or to market it and get the book cover and get it edited and all of those things, then I might as well just keep everything in house. So that's a whole other discussion. But I did the things and I was in a program, I was in a container, I think it was about 6 months, 6-month container to learn the world of self-publishing and launch, and it was led by a man, and it was a good container. I learned a lot, I liked a lot, it was structured fine, but hearing you list out, like, kind of the ecosystem of it, like, none of the branding element was there. None of the actual marketing was there. It was like it was more of a timeline of before it publishes, here's when you should start talking about it. And here's, how you get it uploaded into Amazon and Ingram and like all of the places. And here's how you format it and more of the technicality of it all. But to
sure.
hear
Those are
some
important. Yeah, that's important
for
to people.
sure,
Yeah,
for sure, that gets it actually out there. But for people to see it and then for you to feel connected around it, I had to really call on my skills of marketing and branding and selling products and offers for the past decade in order to do that. And I know for a fact that I spent, the majority of my money on the cover because I was very like that is where books can be made or make it or break it. And spent a lot of time getting it into the hands of as many people as I could to get as many
uh-huh,
reviews as I could, and
uh-huh.
because of that, I was able to get, Amazon Best New Release and international best-selling list within the first 30
That's
days,
awesome.
which is
Yeah,
very exciting, and it will
yeah.
sometimes still bump back into those, like, it'll be in some random promotion, and then I'll get an email, and I'm like, "Oh, great, thanks." Um, but it's not thought leadership. It was a passion project of mine that I wanted to get out there, and I did because it's not under my name. It's not connected to my brand at all in any way, shape, or form. So the nonfiction route is definitely something I've been thinking about in this going into. I mean, I'm 37, and so I'm not quite into that next decade of my life, but I think that that next decade in my life, I'm gonna need to be pursuing the nonfiction
You
space
totally
of
should.
thought
Yeah,
leadership.
totally. Well, come you know where to find me.
Absolutely. I'm just like, what's a one and done situation? I think that's really cool, and I think it'll be really interesting, what I talk to my clients about when they think about introducing a new offer, especially lower price. I think that you have done an excellent job as to really thinking about the purpose of the lower price container. So your political stance, the movement that you can have, the progress that you can help create. It is a trickle down in harnessing your skills into this container. Okay, purpose, right? I think that there are a lot of people who start businesses with a kind of purposeful lens, but if you haven't funded your business yet, it's really hard to also then create something that is more budget friendly. But to have I ask my clients all the time, I want you to think about the result that you actually want your clients to get. And in your signature offer, your high tier offer, it's very clear the result that they get. And are we recreating that in a container that's going to be distracting for your higher tier folks? Or is it going to be so clear that if this is you, here's this container that you need? If this is you, because I think that there has to be some delineation outside of just price point. So how do you feel
And
in the separation there?
when I was doing, kind of because originally I was like, maybe it'll be some hybrid thing. And I got, I did probably about 10 or 12 market research calls, which were I mean, I could have just done market research calls all day. I was like, these are
Yeah.
like that, but also so fun. And I actually did. I originally my offer was going to be 4 months of a content planner and then all the other stuff.
Mhm.
And really the feedback I got was it really needs to be 6. And actually one author, it's very well known, was like, it really should be 7. And we're like, okay, we're gonna be 6.
Okay.
It was
Well,
gonna
you
be
can re-enroll for support after
right,
the
or
container
yeah,
ends.
bonus or whatever, all the
Yeah.
upsells and all that stuff. But uh learning learning what was missing in the market, because I definitely had my own lens of these are the people that I've worked with, but it became
Mhm.
very clear earlier in the year where I was like, maybe it'll be this hybrid thing where it's partial, done with you, I think is
Right,
the
right, right.
and then I realized I'm like, this is going to be a real slippery slope where I am doing
Yep,
$10,000 work for 3. And I was like, mm-mm, I'm not
yep.
doing it. It needs to be very clear. And the good news is that the clients that hire me for our premium service, they, they do not want to be on Instagram. They do not want to be posting shit. They don't want to do anything. They want to live in their zone of genius, whatever it is that they do. Um, and that's it. And they want to have someone that they trust
Mhm.
that will have them, and that is also that safety level that I give my high-end clients. Now, obviously, I can't give that to, I can't give that to everybody because, I just can't, but, our offer, is not the cheapest offer for sure. I'm sure there's a
Sure.
lot of people who are like, "It's $47," and I'm like, "And it looks like $47." I can tell. Like, I've seen what some of my competitors are doing. I'm like, "You should be ashamed of yourself." I mean, nobody cares what kind of ice cream you like. Don't create a post around that anyway. But not to throw shade, but I will. But yeah, just the knowing the client that has helped. I think the struggle for me has been talking about it,
Mm.
because I have even talking about branding. Just use that as I'm so in the weeds
Yeah.
that I just make the assumption that everybody knows what I know.
Yeah.
And I'm not good, full stop. Not good at chunking things down into bites, the snackable stuff, right? Which
Huh?
is, again, I
Uh-huh.
can do that with my clients' work, no problem. But I kind of just sometimes it feels like a monolith, right? Like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
personal branding, right? Like it's
Yeah.
such a and so I struggle again, that's part of that imposter syndrome and just kind of getting out of my own way. But um yeah, it's whoever I also when people are going back to the beginning of our conversation where you see a lot of entrepreneurs and they're like, I'm going to teach you how to launch something in a weekend. And I am literally like, fuck you. You are lying. This I mean, if I could tell you the thousands, thousands of dollars between
Uh-huh.
probably tens of thousands at this point between coaching and strategy and all my freelancers and my designer and my the amount of time and not even including my own brain power, right? I mean, if I do track my time, but I mean, it would be like $100,000 project. the amount of time I've spent thinking about this is like and I'm still not ready. You know, we're still building it, we're pivoting and doing all those things. So I always laugh when I mean, when I see those things because I'm like, I either that or you, it's geared towards someone that has already done it and has
Right.
worked that muscle, right? Like
Yeah.
like an email list and you know, getting people on your list. I mean, it's like so much work.
Well, and truly, like, I'm reworking my core offer in sold out services, and so I have Creatives Catalyst, which is my one-on-one. I work with my consulting clients, and then sold out services teaches you how to productize your service just like I've
Mhm,
done
mhm.
over here.
Right.
And I'm reworking sold out services now that it's been up for about a year, and I've gone through, I think, 12 or 13 people inside the program. And I'm like, okay, it's ready for its first kind of facelift, so to speak. The,
It's so
the,
much
con-
work.
the content already exists. I already know what I need to teach and what I want to say. And it's still like it's weeks and weeks and weeks. It's setting up the ecosystem of it all to make sure that it's not just updated, but that the experience of going through it is also thoughtful and intentional. And oh, I need an asset here. Like I literally was in the middle of recording today, and as I was talking, I was like, "Oh, I need to create this. I need to do this." And
Right?
so
It's never
it's
ending.
yeah, it's an evolution, and I think that it's both good and bad. I understand the just rip off the Band-Aid and just do something and just throw
Yeah.
spaghetti at the wall. And maybe
Yeah.
that's the stage that those folks are at, right? I am past that stage. I know enough now to understand what my people want and what they don't want. And I want to be able to be of service and be intentional about that. And I think that that's the phase that you're at too.
Yeah. It's so funny because I think of you actually
Mhm.
specifically when this was many many years ago, but many years ago I had created kind of a not a done for you, but like a DIY. It was called Your Digital Stylist. I started it with a girlfriend of mine. And it was basically wedding related. So like, same idea, right? I mean, when I say this is really going to date me, but when I say, and I know people are going to be like, shut up, she's lying. But I am telling you, because I have been around for so long, when the wedding industry so I started working with Style Me Pretty. That was like my first big client. I was like, I've been married. My son is 15, 16, 16 or 17 years ago, I think was when I worked with them. And they were becoming a well-known blog. And then we rebranded
Mhm.
them and they fucking took off. Right. And so
Yeah.
that made my business take off.
Yeah.
And as I started to work with more and more vendors, it became very clear to me that like, oh, it would be amazing if I could take my idea in my brain and templatize it, right? But I was I'm not a developer. I don't code websites or anything. I'm really a designer.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have the revenue to like or the real understanding of like this is how you take something and templatize it, right? For like a website or something. And so but I remember early days, this is how old this is, that Target okay, like, we don't go to Target anymore, but, like, Target back in the day, um, had a product line by this designer named Michael Graves. Do you remember that?
I
Probably
don't
don't.
think
Okay,
so.
so Michael Graves is a very famous, product designer, he's an architect, like, one our library is designed by him. Anyway, so he had this product line, Alessio or something, and Target was the first company to basically, like, take his brain and create, like, Michael Graves Light, right? So, like, you get a little and that became the catalyst for every brand collaboration going
Yep.
forward,
Yep.
right? And so
Yep.
it was like Target, I want to targetize myself. And so I had
Yes.
had that idea before anybody. I mean, before
Yes.
and I never did it. If I did, I'm telling you, I'd be so freaking rich right now. But I never, I couldn't get it. I couldn't figure it out. Fast forward years later, we had a similar thing, and I was like, okay, but now, and I had met you. I remember, and I'd seen how people were doing this. We still never did it. We still and kind of doing this sort of hybrid where we were like ended up designing, like basically for free to create these templates that we ended up using. So now fast forward, this is the third iteration of this
Yep.
idea, right? And so now I have this, but I have a much clearer understanding of like, this is how this works. But
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I mean, it is a massive investment to hire people, because if I have to do it, like it'll never get done.
Right.
So to create that kind of a product is just, it's a lot. It's just a lot.
It's a
So,
lot. Yeah.
I think I went off on a tangent about why
No,
I
I
did.
love it. This is what the show is for.
What's so
Well, and
fun?
I just looked up Michael Graves products at Target. I don't remember seeing any of these.
Yeah, I
It
didn't
says
even know those.
early.
They're probably not even there anymore.
No,
But
no, no. It's like early 2000s.
yeah, yep,
It's funny the style. I feel like it could make a comeback because I feel like the style would land today. There's a toaster literally shaped like a loaf of bread.
yep.
I love that. I
That was
love
like
that kind
big.
of shit.
I mean, it was like Target, Michael Graves, and then I think Isaac Mizrahi had some stuff.
I
I mean,
do remember Isaac Mizrahi's
yeah, and
line.
then
Yep.
Philip Lim, and that came later on. But
Yep.
I remember that idea of like, I remember it was a capsule collection. Like I wanted to have this capsule collection, but of like designs, right? But
Yes, yes.
I could never figure it out. And I just, because I'm self-taught, I didn't have a business degree. I'm not a developer, right? So
Right.
there were all these kind of like things around it. Of course, if I could have just figured it. It also was like cost. I didn't have any money. So it
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
like I don't know how to do it and I'd have
Mhm.
to hire someone to do it. And that was
Y
such a risk at
Yeah,
the time. We had, we're living in San Francisco. It's a crazy expensive city. I have a baby. Like it
yeah,
just, so anyway, fast forward, it's still taking forever, but now I can fund these kinds of,
for sure, for
get the
sure.
coach and, hire the people to do the things, but it is not easy, you know?
No, and because you still have to manage that and still give creative direction to that
Yeah.
because it's still
I am the
your
biggest bottleneck of my own business.
and
It
every
teaches me
time.
so much. I mean, I'm like, I have so many people and, you know, like, how am I still the problem?
Well, I'm sure there's people listening who are like, "I can help with that,"
Well, I know.
because I don't know, because mine is like, "Well, just stop thinking you are the only one who can make those decisions.
I know.
Just stop it." That's my advice.
I think part of it too, and this is, I'm sure, an excuse, but like part of it is also because my clients are fairly high profile, like I cannot fuck it up.
Yeah, right.
And we've
Sure,
had a
sure, sure.
couple missteps and stuff where like, oh, this whatever. I mean,
Sure.
in the grand scheme of things, it's social media, right? So things
Mm,
could be removed and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
yeah.
we're
Yeah.
not swearing or doing like whatever. But if our clients are kind of type A and they expect things a certain way, and then if they don't happen, that falls on me. And so, because, like, for example, we just had this big launch, and some of my team were new to doing a book launch because we'd done a
Mhm.
couple earlier in the year and they weren't there yet. I explained to them, I need you to understand that it is going to be this 3-week window, the week before, the week after, the week of, and the week after are going to
Yep.
be like drinking from a fire hose.
Yep. Yep.
So, like, you're gonna be getting pings and you're checking their DMs and you're doing all this stuff, right? And it sounds like fluff, but I say, like, if not to put pressure, but, like, if we fuck this up, all that 5, 6 months of goodwill will go out the window.
It comes down
Out
to
the
this.
window.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was like, "I need everyone to understand that that impacts our business, and that impacts my reputation, and that in turn impacts everybody's team." Like,
Yep.
can't
All
keep
of it.
you on if we don't
Right.
have any clients. Now, thankfully, we have not had that problem, knock on wood. But do you know what I mean? Like, so there's a
Absolutely.
lot of pressure about like I have to kind of manage a lot of stuff. And
Yep.
yes, eventually, I think I need to bring on somebody that is me adjacent.
Yeah.
But that's expensive, right? And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you ended up having a huge team, so
Oh, I guess I know.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just
I
kidding.
mean, I'm not at that revenue level yet, but
Have you read, Built to Sell?
No, but it's on my list.
Okay, I talk about it all the fucking time on this podcast. You
I'm
couldn't
writing it
truly
down.
read it in a weekend if you're a fast reader. It is very short. It reads like a fable, and so it's not a dry business book. And so it's very creative reading. That is truly what changed my entire mentality, outlook about productization and about not me being the bottleneck for every single
Yeah,
thing. And it's only like, truthfully, at the end of the day, it's like some places you're going to be a bottleneck and you're going to be like, yeah, but I like it. And that's fine.
yeah.
And if we understand the consequences of you staying there and keeping it stuck, fine. But most of the times it's
I
not.
just wanna highlight what you just said because it's so genius. Consequences of staying stuck. Alright, that's sticking in my head.
Yep.
Damn it.
Yep. Sorry, but
That
yep.
that is bold right there. That is bold
Yep.
because that is really I mean, yeah.
Right? And
Well,
and sometimes you're fine with them and sometimes you're not. And sometimes you're fine with them until you're not.
yeah,
And that is just part of it, right? Of would I rather spend time, money, or my own mental resources to solve this thing? And it's a different answer depending on what season you're at in life, in business, and everything else that's going on. And so one, I think give yourself grace for that of like, it just might not be the season for that. And that's perfectly acceptable and fine. And let's be aware that just because we don't know how to change it doesn't mean that we can't.
yeah. I think another trap that I fall into too is that, um, when I don't necessarily wanna do something or deal with it, is I will just hire it out.
Mm.
And
Yep.
my coach is
Yep.
like,
Oh,
"Yeah, but
yep.
that's gonna come back on you." She's like, "I think you need to kinda go through this to deal with it and, like,
Yep.
just outsourcing everything." I mean, the things
Yep.
that I automatically outsource, like, I have an amazing bookkeeper. Wait, we might have the
Oh,
same bookkeeper. Do
yeah.
we
Mhm.
Rion?
Evolved.
No. No,
Okay.
wrong. No, but she's from everyone I know is in Kansas City, by the way. It's so funny.
Who do you use in Kansas City?
The bookkeeping, Rion
RDT. What's
Ordell.
her name?
Rion, she's
Okay. No,
British.
but I'm gonna look
She's
her up.
awesome. Oh, yeah, I'll introduce you. She's great. But anyway, yeah, I either outsource it all, like, "La, no, no,
Yeah.
no, I don't wanna
Yeah.
deal with it."
Yeah.
Stuff like
Someone
that
else
makes sense,
solved this
right?
problem for me. Yep.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
some of it makes sense, and some of it is like, I just have to do the
Well,
work.
yeah, solving the problem of bookkeeping, you hire a bookkeeper. That is 100% that. And I think what people often do is hiring a bookkeeper to solve a bookkeeping problem is hiring a subject matter expert to solve that subject of problem, right? You're
Right,
not hiring that bookkeeper to solve your revenue problem, your
right.
sales problem, your lead gen problem, right? Your project management problem. But
Mhm.
oftentimes we hire these like elusive kind of, even me, I get hired sometimes with small businesses to hire, they think they're hiring me to, productize their offer and they have a leads problem. And so they want me to help them with leads. I don't help you with leads. This is not what I promise and in no way, shape, or form. And so it's also about getting really, really clear on what is the problem you actually want solved and are you hiring the right expert for that problem? It's easy to see when it's bookkeeping, accounting,
Yeah,
copywriting, whatever. But
right.
oftentimes we have a hidden layer of the problem that we want solved that we're hoping that person will do that just isn't in their wheelhouse or is their responsibility.
Yeah.
And yeah, that takes big reflections. Okay, well, we chatted a lot. I think that we could keep chatting for a long time. I know we both have appointments to get to. Thank you so much, Heidi, for this conversation. This was
Loved it. It
really,
was so
really
fun.
great.
You were true. We got to yap.
We truly got to yap. Exactly. I am so excited for next year to see your new offer roll out. And I 100% would love to get a peek around what you've got going on over there. And if you have any
Okay.
questions about, like, we should definitely talk about that.
Okay, then,
Um,
you are now I'm gonna be pinging you about that because I would love your
bug me,
eyes on
please. I have
it.
opinions. I
I
want
know,
to say
I
things.
love opinions. I love
Yes.
opinions.
Well, let my listeners know where they can, hang out with you online, follow you, get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, so online, it's, Spitfire Girl Design. I always love to spell it,
Mhm.
SPITFIRL design.com. And on Instagram, it's The Spitfire Girl, and on LinkedIn, it's my name, Heidi Yarger, Yarger.
Amazing. Well, All of that will be in the show notes as well, you guys, so you can hit those links up directly. Definitely go follow Heidi in all of the places. Thank you so much for coming on today. It was great to catch up.
Thank you. It was so good to see you, and we'll catch up offline soon.
For sure. For sure.
Okay. Thanks.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Sell the Damn Service. I'm really honored that you spent however many minutes you just did with me. Now, if you could go do me a very quick favor and be sure to like, subscribe, leave a rating and a review for this podcast over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or, pick your favorite platform. I'm not going to be that choosy. It truly means the world to me. It's how little tiny shows that are like mine, that are self-funded and, being edited in between dinner time and school pickup, it helps us get seen. It's free for you to do and takes just a couple of minutes. And I would love you forever if I could send you an edible arrangement as a big thank you. I would. So instead, consider this giant thank you directed just at you for going to do that. And share this episode or this podcast with a friend who needs to hear it. I love ranting and raving about service-based business strategies. And, I think more people should listen to this show, honestly. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I really, really, really am grateful that you're here, and we will chat very soon.